up, car audio champions? We are back again this week, and we are checking out a car audio digital signal processor. This one's from DG Audio. It's the DG-2.9PRO-BT. Now this is a 4-channel in, 8-channel out, Bluetooth controlled DSP. You can see we got the antenna right there for the Bluetooth, and then also we got clip indicators, which are nice on the top panel, along with the Bluetooth and power light, and then we get 8 limiter LEDs for each of the outputs as well. So a lot of nice features. You can see the 8 outputs right there. This is an all aluminum case, so it's really nice looking and it's very compact. They give you a manual, which I'll show you the pages of the manual a little bit later, and they give you mounting screws. So we're going to run through all the features on this and even hook it up to an oscilloscope and check how clean the output signal is. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So here's the 4 inputs. On the one side, you can see they're labeled A, B, C, D. You have your reset button if you need to do a factory reset. And then you have your antenna, which that is removable just in case, and it is tiltable, so you can rotate it. Then you have your connector, which just requires 12 volts key on, 12 volts constant, and then a ground, just like anything else. Okay, and on this side we have our 8 RCA outs. So these are what are going to go out to your amplifiers. Now you can assign these however you like in the app, and we'll get to that in a minute. So like on channel 1, you could have a left and right signal go out on that single, or you can have them separate where they're left and right channels. So it's fully customizable to whatever you like. So a lot of features in this little DSP, that's for sure. So again, we're going to check out the output signal as well. And it says it's rated up to 4 volts input, which is pretty common for most DSPs. But this also specs out that it does 3.5 volts max RCA output voltage, and we're going to check that on an oscilloscope. So this Bluetooth DSP does not need a lot of power. It only draws about an amp. So, and I would recommend putting like a 1 amp inline fuse if you can when you install it. So let me go ahead and show you guys the manual. It's literally only like 3 pages, but I'm going to put that up now for you guys to check out in case you're interested. Not a lot of info in here, but I wanted to give it to you. I think you guys might be able to scan those barcodes too if you want to check out the app. So there's the manual. Okay, so now we got this thing hooked up. We're just running a couple channels on it just to test. And we just have our 12 volt in, our remote turn on, and our ground hooked up to the connector. And when you first power this on, all the LEDs will light up and do like a self check, and then the power light comes on. And then when you connect the Bluetooth, which we'll do now, the Bluetooth light comes on. Okay, so after you download the app, this is what you're going to see. And this also has 6 memory functions, so you can do 6 different configurations, which is nice. But you first go to the little connect screen, and you'll see the Bluetooth right there. So you go ahead and click on it, click connect. If it does that, just click on it again, no problem. So the password is 6 zeros. 000,000, and you can change that, but that's just the factory password. So we're going to go ahead and enter in the 6 zeros, and that's the stock passcode, and then you hit online, and now that's going to connect it and pair it. Now you should see your Bluetooth LED light up also on the DSP. So first we're going to check out some of these menus. We'll just go in order. So the first one we're going to check out is routing. And this is basically how you want to output your signals. So you can see on each output channel, and there's 8 output channels, you can select, do you want 1 and 2 inputs going out on channel 1? So anyone you select, that's going to go out on the channel 1. On channel 2, 3, 4, same thing. So you can have 4 inputs and you could make those go out however you want on each of those 8 channels. So that's why it's called routing. You're routing where you want those 4 inputs to go out to. So depending on what your system, you can do whatever you want. So the next one is gain. So that's pretty self-explanatory. The main gain is the gain for all the channels. So that's basically the level of all the channels. And then you have your individual gains for each of your output channels. So like if you had something that you wanted to turn down 1 amp, you can do it by the channel 1, turn that down a little bit, and adjust each individual output. And then again, the gain does all the volumes. Then you have your crossovers. This is a super powerful feature on these DSPs. You have a screen where you can show the graph of each of the channels as an overlay. But what this is the high pass, like for a subwoofer, like it's set at 30. So it's going to go from 30 right here to 20,000, but it's fully selectable. You can change that to whatever you want. You can go from 30 to 100, 30 to 20,000. Depending on if you're doing mids, subs, tweeters. There's also all these different crossovers, and they all have different sound characteristics. So that's just something that you guys are going to have to take time and look into. But every one of those crossovers has a different sound curve. So that's really powerful. You can do so much with these crossovers. And then let's say you don't even have to use the plus and down. You can just go into the keypad and put in what you want. So let's say you're doing a subwoofer and you want it 30 to 120. And then you got the Butterworth 48 decibel on the high pass and the Linkwitz Riley 12 decibel on the low pass. But then you can just change it to 20 to 120, and you can do that on every channel for your mids, highs, tweets. So it's super nice, powerful crossover that you can adjust and have all the different crossover styles. I love that feature on these DSPs. Then you got your limiter. This is almost like when it reaches its clipping point, it'll almost stop it from going any louder. Some guys use this, some don't, and it's pretty in depth how to set it up, but the auto works really well. So if you're not sure, just leave it on auto right there, and it does a pretty good job. If you don't want to mess with it or use it, I'd just suggest leaving it, but you can mess with it. Threshold is like the sensitivity. Attack is how fast it limits it, and release is how long it takes to release it, because that's what it is. It's a limiter. So preservation, that's basically saving. So you can save all your settings. So if you want to try a couple different setups, you can just save them to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then those are all presets you'll have that are fully set up. If you guys want to just quick switch to something else, and that will go under the memory function on the main screen, so it's easily accessible. So see, when you hit the memory function, now you can just select it from there. The other great feature on this is the EQ in. This is a huge EQ. Look at all those selectable frequencies. It has a bypass and a reset on the top. So if you tweak stuff too much and you just want to zero it all out, you can hit the reset. All those bands are fully adjustable. Now this is just the input EQ. So this covers all the channels. This is basically an EQ for all the channels. But see, you can just reset it if you want to just change it back. If you don't want to use the EQ, you just want to make it flat just for a second, you can hit bypass. So that's a nice feature. Like if you're playing with sounds and then you just want to be like hit bypass and it'll shut off the EQ. And then you hit bypass again and it'll turn it back on. So that's a nice feature to have. And then now we have EQ channel. So this is the EQ for each of the separate 8 outputs. So this just gives you even more control than just one main EQ. You have one for each channel completely separate. So you can really just fine tune your system on all the 8 channels. This is why DSPs are so nice and so powerful. You can change your complete sound and tailor it to what you need. Also, notice this frequency down here and Q factor. I'm going to show you what those do. So let's see, we find this frequency is 50, and we kind of want to isolate that frequency. So we raise the Q. See how it's making the peak sharper? What that does is it raises the volume or lowers the volume of the surrounding frequencies. So right there, see, we have a lot of frequencies around that. Now we're limiting the frequencies around 50 hertz. We're quieting them down. So that's another thing you guys can read up more on. Like I said, if we went through everything on DSPs, it could be a 5-hour video. I'm just kind of going through things real quick for you. But the next one is polarity. That's if you have a speaker wired out of phase. Again, you can look that up. But basically, like if the bass hits and the woofer is pushing out instead of in, where it's out of phase, you can correct that by hitting 180 and it'll correct the phase. Again, you guys can read up more on that. Delay. This is used for when, like, if you have speakers in an SUV all the way in the back and they're further away than your front speakers to your ears. So you can add some delay to your front speakers so the sound from the back and the front hit your ears at the same time. A lot of guys don't use it, but it can really help if you're trying to totally perfect your sound. So now let's exit out of this and go to the last menu, which is monitor. Now this is just a real simple screen. It gives you your main gain control. It shows your limiter lights that are like on the DSP, and then the voltage. Pretty simple right there. So that's a quick run through of all the screens. Then there's a factory reset. If you want to do a factory reset, it shows your voltage on your system. And that's about it. So now let's get this thing hooked up and see what kind of output voltage we get on the RCAs. Okay, now we're going to test what output voltage we can get while still having a non-clipped signal. And this is where a lot of the other DSPs struggle. A lot of DSPs I'll get clipping and whatnot at 1 volt or less. So this one's rated at 3.5 volts, which if it does it is very good for a DSP. And I'll put a link for this oscilloscope in the description. This thing's pretty cheap and it's pretty handy to have around if you're interested. But let's go ahead and get started. So what we're looking for is the Vmax to get close to 3.5 because that's what it's rated at. And we're also looking for the waves to be nice and round at the peak and not flat and cut off. That means it's not a clipped signal. So there you go, 3.5 volts, just like it said, of a clean, unclipped signal in the outputs. Very nice. So this ends up being another really good budget DSP. So there you go, guys. This ended up being a really good quality and value DSP. I really like it. It put out good voltage that's not clipped to 3.5 volts, which is very good. A lot of cool features. The app is pretty simple, but it works well. No glitchiness or lag. So really nice DSP. If you guys want to check out DG Audio, go to dgaudio.net. They have locations in Barbados and St. Lucia. And if you want to check them out on Instagram, their Instagram tag is dgaudio246. And if you guys like the content, please like and subscribe. It would really help me out. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.